One. Hello, 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 hello down there. Hi, and right down to the other end. Hello. Oh, good. Look, I can see myself in surround screen. That's going to be excellent. Good evening. Welcome to Women's Stuff Geelong. Oh, I am not at all happy with that. Right? I know that it is a mid-week event. And it's an evening and we're missing out on some pretty good television. Like, I get that, but I want some more enthusiasm. I want football enthusiasm. Welcome to Women's Stuff Geelong. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. For those, I'm just going to put this out of the way. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nellie Thomas. I'm going to be your MC for this evening. Very, very excited to be here. I know people always say that, you know, in my position, and then they say this, but I really mean it. I've got 2 little kids, so I am just happy to be out of the house. I really don't worry about them. They're fine. They're in the car. It's all right. The heater's on, the window's down a little bit. They'll be right. There's a woman down there looking really unimpressed. It's not like TV. I can see you. Yeah. Little bit far away, but I can come down there. I may even do that. But seriously, how wonderful is this? I think originally we thought that we'd get a couple hundred people, and then we thought we'd get a few hundred people, and then we thought we'd get like 400 people, and look at you, 600 of you. So amazing. Thank you so much for coming. A special shout out to Scott, Lachlan, Andrew and David, the 4 men in the room. Hey? Hello, fellas. Wake up and smell that estrogen. Isn't it delightful? I love that, particularly at a football ground. Look, everyone, I would like to begin, of course, by acknowledging that we meet tonight on Aboriginal land. I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present. As I said, my name's Nellie Thomas. I'm going to be your MC. Some of you might be wondering what on earth a comedian like myself is doing here. That's a really good question. The answer is that I am very proud to be an ambassador for Jean Hales for Women's Health. And frankly, I thought I could have got some applause for that. But is this the kind of event it's going to be? Like, seriously, I'm used to pubs and clubs, you know, where I have to like fight with people. Be nice. Be lovely to me. But no, I am very proud to have that role. So Jean Hales for Women's Health, as I assume most of you know, I hope most of you know, is a national body. It is a not-for-profit women's health organisation, and it is named after the one and only Dr. Jean Hales, who I'll tell you a bit more about throughout the night, but let's just say for now she was an absolutely passionate women's health advocate. We're also thrilled that her daughter, there she is. Are you on the twits over there, Janet? Look at you, cool as a cucumber. Her daughter, Janet, who is also, what do we call you, Lady President? Janet Nothing is over there, who's also Jean Hales' daughter, and she's the president. So she's the boss, basically, is what I'm saying. And we're very thrilled to also have her here. So please join me in welcoming her. What I would like to do is, at this point, do a few thank yous, which I know is a bit unusual. Usually you do them at the end, but I like to do them now while you still care, right? So let's start with the fact that this event has been made possible thanks to the support of the Percy Baxter Foundation, a foundation established in the honour of Percy Baxter, a Geelong businessman. So please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. The event is also proudly supported by Women's Health and Wellbeing Barwon South West. You would have seen, yes, wonderful. And they've got a stall out there by Barwon Health. And give them another round of applause. By GMHBA, who I believe now name the stadium. And also by the City of Greater Geelong. Yes. Just by a show of hands, who lives in Geelong? Excellent. Who's come from outside of Geelong? Okay. Who's come from more than half an hour's drive out of Geelong? An hour? 2 hours? 3 hours? If you come from Warrnambool? Darwin? Someone give this woman a jacket. You must be freezing. Did you come specifically for this? If you didn't, just lie. You did, didn't you? That is amazing. Are you freezing? Not right now, no, not with all the estrogen. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming all the way from Darwin. I was going to offer you a prize. I don't have anything. No, I'm going to rustle something up. I will rustle something up for you. What's your name? Lissy's come all the way from Darwin, everyone. Welcome. That's extraordinary. And to anyone else who's travelled, now the Warrnambool people are feeling really ripped off. Really ripped off. But, welcome to all of you as well. We appreciate you travelling. I would like to single out a few people who've put in a lot of work tonight, and I know there's a whole team, but I just want to single out Brenda Jones, who's done an enormous amount of work from Jean Hales. Fiona Darling, where are you, Fiona, with the best name in the world, who should be in showbiz? She's flitting around doing something. But Fiona, there you are. Fiona, look at her down there. This woman has worked and worked and worked to bring you all here. It takes an enormous effort to do it. Please give her the biggest round of applause. Well done, Fiona. You can have a rest now, Dal. I'd like to acknowledge Jo Roberts as well, and of course Janet, our fearless leader, for all that she does. Now, bit of housekeeping. I'm told I should brief you on the safety procedures. I don't know what they are. Let's just say if an alarm goes off, probably leave. Would that be reasonable? Yeah. There's some exit signs, I'm assuming. Yeah, exits this way. I'll be going that way. I'll just go to the oval. Can you put your phones on silent, please? It used to be when I started doing comedy and events that you just say turn your phones off. You can't do that anymore, can you? But put your phones on silent. For those of you who are on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, whatever else you're on, we're doing #Jean Hales. Okay, creative. Okay, toilets are outside in the foyer. You would have seen that, hopefully. You may have seen that we are filming tonight, and there's also photos being taken. If anyone doesn't want their photo taken or doesn't want to be filmed at the moment, it'll just be the back of your head. But please just indicate to the photographer or the filmer that you don't want that, and that's fine. Now, you would have seen, hopefully, did you all go and look at the expo? Outside, fantastic local services in the main, and some Jean Hales stuff and a whole range of free things. You've got your show bags. Make sure you look at that during half time. The format today is we're going to have a range of fantastic speakers. There will be a break for refreshments, and you'll be able to look at the expo again. We'll come back for a wonderful panel, and I promise you, I am an absolute stickler for time. We will be finished at the advertised time of 9 o'clock. Let's hope this works, Lockie. Let me see. Can I see the slide? No, that's... Okay, that didn't work. That was going to be really funny. That's on you, Lock. That is on you. No, I had tonight's TV schedule with the things circled that I thought you'd enjoy. Yeah. Some of them were really funny, mostly not. But, oh, there we go. Look, I put Gruen just because I work on ABC sometimes. Britain's Got Talent. Come on, who doesn't? Okay, just me. Excellent. I would have put Tiny House Hunters if they'd had it there. But look, you'll be out by 9, is what I'm saying. That really wasn't worth it, was it? All right, that's the formal stuff out of the way. Before I introduce our first speaker, I have been asked to tell you a little bit about my involvement in Jean Hales and why I'm a health ambassador for Jean Hales. So I thought I'd just tell you about my health journey, shall we call it that. So, a bit about me. All those slides are overlapping. Oh dear. That's not okay. We're just going to have to go with the flow here, people. The most important one you can see, look at my beautiful Nana. That is my Nana Gladys. She lived to the ripe old age of 97, lived on her own, was not in assisted care or anything right up until the last 2 weeks. And just to give you some idea of how strong her and her sisters were, my Auntie Hilda, her sister, died at the age of 96 while chopping wood. We're from Western Australia. She was literally chopping wood in the West Australian summer, preparing for winter and had a stroke. So bless you, Auntie Hilda, but what a way to go out. If I can just go back to that slide, thank you. So what you would have seen behind there is a picture of me at school, but let's not worry about that. You can see I come from a massive family. My mum's from a family of 12. My dad's from a family of 9. My poor grandmother on my dad's side had 8 boys. She had one girl who sadly died in her first year of life, and then she had 8 boys trying to have another girl. And then my granddad left her. So yes, 12, that's joyful, isn't it? 12 on mum's side, 9 on dad's, neither of them Catholic, just rural, right? They're just not a lot to do, you know what I'm saying? Just getting jiggy with it. Let's see how these slides go. Actually, when Nana died, oh dear, that's okay. I'm going to have to work with this. When Nana died, she actually had 121 grandchildren, including greats and great-greats. So, bless you, Nana. The main health issues, I was a child of the late 70s and 80s. The main health issues in my family, I've put down there poverty. And I think it's important to highlight the fact that lack of money does contribute to poor health outcomes. We know that, and it's particularly acute in regional areas, and I come from quite a low socioeconomic area. Another issue that's uncomfortable, but which I think it's important to be honest about, is that there was family violence, not in my immediate family, but in my extended family, and it is certainly one of the most significant women's health issues that we face. The other one, which is more light-hearted, is you'll see the confectionery aisle up there in the picture, and that is that, you know, it was the 80s, we ate shit. Didn't we? Am I allowed to say shit? I probably should have. It's a bit late, isn't it? We ate a lot of junk food. There was a lot of, drinking Coke at dinner. Imagine if you saw a kid pull out a can of Coke these days. Someone would call DHS. But we had soft drinks and a lot of junk food. We also had, at the back there, does anyone remember the campaign for Tab? You remember Tab? Yeah? The young ones, you don't know what Tab is. It's like Diet Coke, but it tastes like squashed ants. Right? So the face of Tab was Elle Macpherson. And do you remember she walked out of the beach? Like she walked out of the water wearing like some dental floss. Just looking beautiful. And I wanted that dental floss. And I put myself on a diet immediately. I was 7 years of age. And I decided that I wouldn't eat every other day and I would just drink Tab. So body image is what I'm saying, and sadly I think that is persisted to this day for young girls. And the other drawing down there that you'll see with the big hair, we have a strong history in my family of what we like to call bad nerves. Anyone else's family got bad nerves? Yeah? We're all mental, is what I'm saying. A lot of anxiety in the family, just by a show of hands, because I like to be open about these sort of things. Who is mental? Yeah? Oh my God, I love you so much. I literally go into comedy clubs and ask that, and the tech will put his hand up, and that's it. I love that you're prepared to admit that. Let me see. Lockie, my thing's not working. Oh, crikey. Okay, here we go. So this is me today. I'm a comedian by trade. I work on ABC Radio a bit. I do these kinds of events. I'm an author. I do, a range of things. I'm the mum of 2 wonderful girls. This is my oldest girl. She fits very neatly into the girl sort of stereotype. I did try, I don't know if anyone else tried this, tried to keep Barbie out of the house. I thought bad role model, you know what I mean? I don't want any part of it. You cannot keep Barbie out of the house. She's like a cockroach. It's like people bring her in Tupperware, So in the end, we went, okay, we can't keep Barbie out of the house, we'll compromise. So you can have a Barbie, she's got to have a job. So she's now got about 13 Barbies, but they're all employed. So hashtag parenting. My other daughter is any teachers? Yeah, she's what you'd call spirited. Yeah? Yeah. She's a piece of work, that one. She's pretty much completely out of control. I absolutely adore her. When she got invited to a princess party, she wore this. Hey? Rock on, girl. She went as Darth Vader to a fairy party. She went to another party, and I swear to you this is true, as Gandhi. And not Indira either, Mahatma. Yeah, she's an interesting cat, that one. Now, just flying through. I don't think this clicker's working, Lockie. Oh, these are my sons. Yes, that's Chewy in the glasses and Ralph in his winter couture. They are the delight, absolute delight of my life. Anyone else got dogs? Yeah, anyone got a Labrador? Yeah, got a poodle? Anyone? That's Chewy. See, for those of you who don't have a Labradoodle, you might not know this. Labrador, smart dog. Poodle, smart dog. Labradoodle, stupidest dog on earth. Honest to God, that dog, I'm amazed that he's alive. Like, Ralph, on the other hand, very bright, just doesn't like anybody. Exactly how I like it. So, main adult health issues, and don't let me live in my shame alone. If you have these, put your hands up as well. I absolutely know the importance of eating healthily. I just don't want to. Excellent. Oh, it's confessional time. I know what I'm supposed to do. It's not a lack of information. I try my absolute best, but it is still a struggle. And the other one up there, definitely still mental, and I'll focus on that. Oh, Lockie, help me out here. Okay. Oh, no, go back. I'm just going to leave that alone because I don't think it's working. So that's me. Hi. I was diagnosed in my 20s with chronic anxiety. I like to sing it. Then it sounds less like a debilitating disease and more like fun. With periods of depression, and the reason that I've put that photo up, which if I do say so myself, and I can say this because a nice photographer took it, it's a pretty nice pic, isn't it? Isn't it? Thank you. The reason I like to put that picture up is because I think we've got a very skewed idea of what people with depression and anxiety look like in Australia. It's a massive, massive health issue. And our idea of depression and anxiety is not that smiling face, that's for sure. We've got a very extreme view, and I think that leads to people misrecognising the fact that they might need to get help. So I think it's important for people to know that people from all walks of life and all levels of success and all backgrounds are susceptible to mental health issues. Next one, Lockie, thank you. What have I tried? I tried hope. I don't want to dissuade you from hope, but I tell you, it's not a cure, funnily enough. A bit like contraception. For those of you in the room who work with teenagers, you can hope all you want that they're not going to do it, but they probably bloody are. Hope didn't work. I tried meditation and yoga. Has anyone tried meditation and yoga? Yeah? I know, we've got I bet there's some practitioners in the room because they're looking at me very cranky that I'm using that accent. When I went and did meditation, I distinctly remember going, I already know how to breathe. I've been breathing for 43 years. Shit, I could be home watching MasterChef. I got meditation rage. I don't think that's what they're going for. And I know the meditation people in the room because you're mad for it. I know what you're looking at me going, you just need to do it more. You just need to do it more. I know, I'm not going to. I did try yoga. I was very good at that. There was one pose that I was excellent at. It's where you lay on the floor. Oh, shit, I was flat out. I was just feeling the burn. I've tried work-life balance. Anyone got it? Nah, no. If one person, don't get smug, darling. If one more person tells me to get work-life balance and doesn't give me a nanny, a cleaner and a 20-hour working week, I will actually explode. I've tried Dr. Phil. Anyone else? Oh, you've all got jobs. All right, whatever. Don't get up yourselves. I saw Dr. Phil on this one show. He said to this woman, she had 3 kids, under 5, she worked full time, right? And she said, how can I get time for myself? I'm like, am I going to tell her the truth? He said, you know, what I would recommend is that you get up at 5 and you go for a run on the treadmill. She said, that time between 5 and 6 a.m, that can be your time. I thought, that's your advice to a stressed out, underappreciated, overworked mother of 3. Get up in the middle of the night and run. Out the door would be my advice. Go and get yourself a massage, darling. So what actually has worked for me, I do counselling. Are there any psychologists in? You are really annoying people. Oh, you're helpful, but really annoying. How are you feeling? I don't know, that's why I'm here. Rest, I'm not good at resting. It's not my, it's not my default thing, but I have tried to build more rest into my life, diet and exercise. Oh, so annoying. You know those people who go, oh, if you exercise, it's great and you'll feel better. It's not, and you don't. You know what feels great? Eating cake while sitting on a couch. I feel bloody awesome when I do that. Not so good the next day, but at the time. But I do recognise that diet and exercise has been one of the biggest things that has helped me. I do exercise. I hired... I don't like to move. Like, I do not like... If I don't have to move, I don't. So I gave myself an incentive. I'm like, you have to be on the treadmill if you want to watch your crap TV. So I've got a treadmill in the lounge room and I walk, and it's like, I will do anything to hear Manu go, I haven't got enough sauce. I've got sauce, Manu. I have got plenty of sauce. That is not a metaphor. Connection, for anyone who has suffered depression in particular, you can get very isolated because guess what? People are annoying. But I've made a very conscious effort to make sure, and especially someone who works on my own, make sure that I have more connection. And I have also tried antidepressants. I had to whisper that because half of you are on them, but it's a secret. I think it's really important for me to acknowledge that I've used antidepressants when I need them. I think if I had asthma and I needed a puffer, I would stand up here quite openly and say, hey, guess what, I've got asthma and I use a puffer. So I'm all about demystifying all of this stuff and normalising it. I'm not going to recommend that you use antidepressants. I'm not going to tell you to or not to. But I'm going to tell you that I do, and I need them and I use them and they help me. I did have some, thank you. That's someone else who's on antidepressants. Well done, darling. Did have some side effects though when I started. Holy dooly. I started sweating a lot. I couldn't sleep. I had no sex drive. And in 10 months, I put on 20 kilos. I know. I went in for anxiety. I came out a fat, sweaty, celibate insomniac, which was depressing. But I hasten to add, I was on the wrong one. And I think it's very important to say that. But seriously, people, they go and they get the side effects and then think, oh, that's all a disaster. It's not a disaster. It just does take some tweaking to get on the right one. So look, I couldn't bear any more than that. I totally could, and I probably will throughout the night. But that's me. And my big thing is about talking about health issues in an open and honest way and making it, normal to have that kind of conversation. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to do tonight. So what I'm going to do now, first of all, whoever's phone's ringing, totally fine, but please put it on silent. And when I say fine, can you hear the comedian in me? Just desperate to go over there. Like, yeah, I was going to answer that phone. What I'm going to do is introduce our first speaker. Before I do that, I will find her bio. I would like to introduce Justine Devonport to say a few words. Justine is the team leader for Women's Health and Wellbeing Barwon South West, an independent women's health promotion organisation working to prevent illness and promote independence, health and wellbeing for local women. Would you please put your hands together for our very first speaker? Give her a big round of applause and welcome Justine.
Thanks, Nellie. I think I've changed my mind going after Nellie. It's a hard act to follow. I'm not funny. Good evening, and thank you, Nellie, for that great intro. It's always a good night with Nellie on MC duties. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wathaurong people, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Well done, Geelong, when I heard that there were 600 women coming. Amazing. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. This overwhelming response shows just how much this sort of forum is needed. And the Jean Hales crew, particularly Fiona, have done just such a wonderful job of pulling it together. So thank you for bringing it to our region. It's good not to have to catch that train up to Melbourne for things like this every time. We've got an amazing array of professionals here tonight to speak to you. We're going to talk sexual health checks, menopause, nutrition, pelvic floor, and have a panel for you to ask those questions. As a local women's health representative, I just wanted to talk a bit about the work that we're doing in the region so that you had an idea of what was going on. So Women's Health and Wellbeing Barwon South West are really working in the primary prevention space. So we aim to prevent ill health before it occurs and support initiatives like this that promote good health for women. We have 3 priority areas. So we work in gender equity for better health outcomes, preventing violence against women, and improving sexual and reproductive health. Much of our current work is in the area of preventing violence against women. We're a leading partner in the strategy to prevent and address violence against women in the G21 region, and we're working towards engaging the whole community in actions under this strategy. There would have been some information out on the table, and it's probably still there, some flyers about training that we offer as well. Our work in gender equity includes looking at equal access and participation in sports and activities for women and girls in the region, and offering gender equity training for organisations and different settings. So we've done work in schools, sporting clubs, and all sorts of different workplaces. Condom access and service mapping has been a major focus in our work to improve sexual and reproductive health for women. In a rural access survey we conducted a few years ago, 72% of respondents stated that client anonymity was an issue when trying to access sexual and reproductive health services. So quotes from rural areas include things like, "Some locals are embarrassed to go to their doctor as everyone is known to everyone else. Sitting in a GP clinic with a room full of people you know, it can be very hard to be anonymous." So these sort of comments indicate that people are reluctant to seek help, are reluctant to engage with their local GPs. As far as condom access is concerned, there were quotes like, "In some towns, condoms are only available in the local shops. I had a young person tell me that the shopkeeper refused to serve them and threatened to tell their mum." So there's obviously a lot of work to do in improving accessibility to contraception and sexual health services across our region. The more time I spend in this role, the more obvious the links between our 3 priority areas become. So I just want to shine a light on this connection and the link to women's health in general. Men's violence against women is the leading cause of preventable death and disability in women aged 15 to 44 in Victoria. So that is a fact, and it shows that we have a major health issue as well as a cultural one. So this issue does not know boundaries of socioeconomic status or culture. It's hideous and pervasive across the board, with the issue having greater impacts on certain populations, such as women with disabilities and Indigenous women. Research conducted by Our Watch and ANROS has found that gender inequality is the main driver of violence against women. So wherever there is violence, there is an imbalance of power and an adherence to rigid gender stereotypes. So to prevent violence against women, we must promote and work towards creating gender equity across all settings, at all ages and in all systems and structures. We all need to challenge these rigid gender stereotypes that we are often presented with. And it's often said that until women have control of their own sexual and reproductive health, we cannot truly have gender equity. It is all too common that the sexual and reproductive health of women lies in the control of the men in power. Women, particularly in rural and regional areas, are denied access to basic health care, denied power over decision making, and denied control of their own bodies. And this is not good enough. Women's sexual and reproductive health has been on the back burner for too long. That's why we need forums like this, bringing these topics out into the open. We don't deserve a tampon tax. We do deserve access to treatment for endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and other sexual and reproductive health issues. We do not deserve limited methods of contraception, and we do deserve access to evidence-based, long-acting contraception. We deserve choice. We hope that you leave here tonight feeling informed and empowered to make those choices. So please enjoy the following presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Thanks so much. Are you watching Handmaid's Tale? Oh, have I said that too early? It's too soon. I tell you what, you've got to be like mentally prepare yourself for it. Justine knows I've done a lot of sexual health shows with teenagers through Royal Women's Hospital, and it's interesting talking about condom access, because guess what happens when there aren't access to condoms? Well, obviously either you have sex without condoms, or there's a bit of DIY going on. A couple of the things I've heard over the years, and this is word from word, and in fact from some kids in your region that we've done shows with, how are they making condoms? Glad wrap. Had one kid say, I'll just use mum's stockings. I said, you know they're porous. He goes, yeah. Okay. And my favourite, and I've heard this 3 different times from 3 different kids from 3 different schools, you just use a shopping bag. Like a Coles shopping bag. For the romantics. And I couldn't help but ask one of them, I said, mate, how do you keep it on? He's like, lucky band. So for those who may be concerned about access to condoms, there are worse things, are there not, Justine? That's for sure. Yeah, that's right. You've got free ones out on the table. And on a more serious note, I'll go back to one of the reasons I'm so passionate about reproductive health as well. You think of my nanas before, and this will be the same for lots of the women in past generations, 12 kids and 9 kids. You think either of them wanted to have 12 kids and 9 kids? Very doubtful. Not that they didn't love them, but certainly didn't have a choice. All right. Thank you so much, Justine. Give her another round of applause. Thank you for coming. And also thanks to Women's Health, Wellbeing, Barwon South West for being one of the supporters of tonight's event, and have a look at their stall. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter, Sandra Villela. Where are you, Sandra? There you are. Sandra is a naturopath. Oh, do you do meditation? Are you going to tell me off? No, she's not. Sandra is a naturopath. I should say when I bag out meditation, unfortunately the research shows it works. Oh. Sandra is a naturopath and herbalist who's been in practice more than 20 years. Sandra's interest is women's health across the life stages, particularly in the management of menopause. Sandra loves encouraging women to make positive changes in their lives with nutrition and lifestyle. Please welcome Sandra Villela.
Thank you, Nellie. I was really looking forward to doing my talk, and now Nellie's told you how good it is to sit on the couch and eat cake. So who's going to listen to me, really? So I now have the exciting job of trying to inspire you to eat well. Food is one of my favourite things, and at Jean Hales, one of my jobs is that I get to create recipes, and my recipes in the Jean Hales kitchen have a simple motto of simple, nutritious and delicious. So you don't have to be a master chef, and you don't have to go and buy 15 different ingredients. And the whole idea is to make food and nutrition accessible, and there's always a health message in that as well. So what do we know about the recommendations? What are we told that we're supposed to eat? So we used to have a pyramid, a food pyramid, which is right out now, and this is what the Australian government tell us to eat. And what I want you to take from this slide is that try and fill half your plate with vegetables. That's the main thing. What I'd really encourage you to do is really have a look at the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet over and over keeps coming up as the diet with the greatest amount of evidence to help us prevent dementia, cardiovascular disease, help with resilience is some of the issues that are coming out now. And it really is quite easy. It's basically a whole food diet. So on the bottom, interestingly, is not food. It's about eating with people. So the whole idea, I grew up in the country with one of five. Yes, we were Catholic and I'm also Italian. But food was a big part of our life. And at dinner time, we all got together and eat. And we usually had a neighbour or someone else. And that was the time, no television, where we got to share things that happened during the day. So for that's not only just the sharing of food, but the sharing of experience. And the most important part of which all your... Yeah, thank you. The most important part of what our meal should be based on is vegetables, fruit, whole grains, legumes, seeds, nuts, herbs. And we get a bit confused, should we be paleo? Should we be high fat, low fat, no carbs, no carbohydrate, no bread? It can all get a bit confusing. But if you look at the evidence, this still comes up as being quite useful. Now, there's carbs and there's carbs. There's donuts and there's brown rice. So that there is a difference, and what you need to be choosing is the right type. Yes, the donuts you'd prefer? Yes, that's a sometimes food, and sometimes we indulge in that. And so the Mediterranean diet is really important, and I will draw on this quite a bit. The other thing about that bottom level is that they're the foods that tend to be the ones that feed our gut microbiota. So you hear a lot about this now. Our gut is often called now the second brain, and we have this connection between what goes on with our gut and our brain. In fact, you'd probably know about serotonin. It's a chemical in our brain. There are more serotonin receptors in our gut than there are in our brain. So more and more what we feed our gut is important, not necessarily taking the probiotics, but feed what's there, and it's whole foods, fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and polyphenols in these brightly coloured vegetables are really important. So the way I'm going to talk about food today, we know that food is not only important for helping us to stay vital and for our wellness, but it's also really important for preventing chronic disease, a lot of the diseases associated with the Western world today. And we know something like with cardiovascular disease, 80 to 90% of it is preventable by diet and exercise. So not smoking, moving and eating the right foods. 10% is about with genetics, and we can't do much about that. So these are in no particular order. But the first one, again, what I try to do is make things accessible. So this is linseeds, also known as flax seeds. They're the little brown seeds that are really hard to grind in your grinder, but they are very important to grind because you need to break down the outer shell to allow some of the ingredients, some of the active constituents to be accessible. So they're really rich in omega-3 fatty acids. They're the type of fats we try and get from fish, and these are the precursors to that. They're also really high in fibre, the right type of fibre, and they're high also in phytoestrogens. So phytoestrogens are a plant estrogen which can be quite useful. And one of the things that we do at Jean Hales is I've created a recipe based on having 2 dessert spoons of linseeds a day because we know that can improve vaginal dryness. Now, in-house, they're known as our juicy vagina muffins, but we don't put that in print. And they are actually quite delicious. So I think we've got a picture of that somewhere, Lockie. Yeah, so they're our juicy vagina muffins. And my 5-year-old son does eat them as well, and he certainly doesn't have a vagina, although he would like to. The second one that I would talk about is yogurt. Now again, no dairy. There's really good evidence for having cultured milk products in our diet. And if you look at the Mediterranean diet, very interestingly, a lot of the time what they're using is sheep's and goat's milk, dairy products, and they are made a little differently. I was reading something yesterday about a paper of translating the Mediterranean diet for the Australian diet, and they talked about yogurt, and they decided that they would talk about having low-fat dairy in this particular paper because the way that traditional methods of yogurt were made was allowing the cream to stay in there rather than putting the cream back. But yogurt is a great food. It is a source of probiotics if you have one that has 1 billion per serve. So the labelling's changed and we don't need to specify what's on the label anymore. So if you're wanting to use it as a probiotic, it needs to have 1 billion bacteria per serve. It's a great source of protein and a really good source of calcium, and it is associated with reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. Now the next one, and now this is, if you've in your bag today, I think you've got a recipe in our magazine, and this is one of the recipes with the breakfast topper, the breakfast brain topper, and that's actually combining the 2 dessert spoons of linseed. It's got some sunflower, some walnuts and blueberries as a nice way of also having for breakfast. Now sardines. Most people are averse to the sight, the smell or the taste of sardines. These are one of the best foods you can have. They're less than $2 a can. They're really rich in the omega-3 fatty acids. A tin of calcium is better than taking, it's about the same amount of calcium as taking one of your Caltrate. And they're a sustainable fish as well. So what you need to do is mix it with something as equally as strong. So again, one of the recipes we've got is sardines on toast, where you mix it with hummus and some flat leaf parsley, a bit of onion if you can tolerate onion, and also some cherry tomatoes, or you can mix it with marinated feta. And we did a little taste test out of 20 women in the office. Everyone, even those who didn't like sardines, ate them. My next one is prunes. Yes, prunes, they're not very sexy, but they are, again, inexpensive. They've got a lot of those type of antioxidants that you find in blueberries. So instead of having to spend $8 a punnet, you can spend $3 on a packet of prunes, have 3 or 4 a day, really good for your bowels, and they also give you some of these really great antioxidants, and they are an okay source of iron as well as far as a non-meat source goes. This recipe here is actually a prune ball, so you often see those raw cacao balls, and this is like if you want your chocolate fix at night, instead of sitting on the couch and having your cake, this actually does give you a chocolate fix, and it's mixed in with the prunes and the raw cacao. Again, you can find these recipes on the Gene House website. So broccoli, what I would say about broccoli is that it's this whole broccoli family that tends to be really good for women. So broccoli, bok choy, kohlrabi, Brussels sprouts, rocket, bok choy, and the cabbages. So what we know is these women who eat these foods, they can be associated with decreased risk of some cancer. Also, men who eat these foods, it's also associated with certain reduced risks of some cancer. And they do actually help the way that the liver properly detoxifies things. So detox is a bit of a buzzword, but this is actually in true liver detoxification, and they're a great source of nutrients. Now this little slide says, did you know that high nut consumption is associated with lower cardiovascular risk and all-cause mortality? And the little badger, I think it is, says, do you think I eat these things because they taste good? So what we do know is a handful of nuts is associated with a reduced risk of dying of anything that pretty much, cardiovascular disease, and also strokes, less so with stroke. But a good handful of raw unsalted nuts are a great one to have, and they fill you up. One of the things nuts do is they fill you up, so you're less likely to have the big snack. Almonds are probably the best all-rounder. Walnuts are also good, and macadamia nuts are good for the omega-3s. Whole grains, yes. So do we eat carbs or do we not eat carbs? If you eat carbs, make sure they're whole grain. So one of the things you can do is get rid of white. My daughter always complaining, why can't we have saladas? And I said, one day you'll thank me. And so, you're having the whole grains. So if for each serve of whole grain, equivalent to a bowl of porridge a day, decreases your risk of cardiovascular disease by about 5%. So that doesn't mean have 5 serves of carbohydrates a day and not have your vegetables. You've got to put it into context, but make it whole grain. Brown rice, having things like barley, and also the oats as in porridge or also as a muesli. And there's a couple of recipes there that you can look at. So this is a soup. It's a Mediterranean-inspired minestrone soup, which has got soybeans in it and also barley for the whole grains. And that brings me on to legumes. So in the Mediterranean diet, they suggest that you have legumes at least twice a week as part of a way of eating. Now that could actually be, in Australia, baked beans on toast. But it could also mean that you're putting legumes into your soups, making up a salad at lunchtime. They are cheap. They're a really good source of fibre. Yes, they can cause a bit of wind with some people. Canned ones can often be better in that regard because they often reduce some of these indigestible fibres that create some of the problem. They're low GI, which means you have them for lunch, and instead of your blood sugar going up and crashing, it's nice and sustaining. And if you combine them with a seed or a grain, then it makes it a complete protein. This is one of our most popular recipes. It's actually it's a chickpea and sweet potato patty, which are quite nice and very easy that you can look at. Now, one of the things that comes up over and over again as a benefit in the Mediterranean diet is extra virgin olive oil. So what I'm saying is there should be no other oil in your house except extra virgin olive oil. Maybe a bit of macadamia nut oil. We get bamboozled. Oh, I need to have this one because it's got a high cooking point, and I need to have this one. The evidence is for extra virgin olive oil. So buy the best quality that you can get, and don't be scared with using it. In this translation of using it in the Australian diet, 3 to 4 tablespoons a day. So that's quite a bit. Yes. So don't be scared with using it. Dress your salads, cook with it. As long as you don't overheat it, it actually is quite stable to cook with. And the last one, which I think is quite valuable, is the value of a cuppa. You know, the going over and having a cup of tea or whatever it is with your girlfriend and go over things. Getting a beautiful cup and saucer and sitting down at the end of the day with a nice relaxing blend instead of going for the wine on some nights. Yeah, I know, I'm a party pooper. During the weekdays at least. This, I think we've got a prize donated by Love Tea, which is a local company here, and they do some beautiful blends. I had one just before, and you know, the lovely ritual of sitting down with a nice tea just as a way of treating yourself. That's about as close as I get to meditation. You know, I have 2 children too. And I just need that. I've gone too far. So just remember the take-home message. Make sure that the really important thing, it's not rocket science. It's really just filling half your plate with vegetable. So if that means you can't do it literally on your dinner plate, I'm often eating a carrot as I'm getting dinner ready. It's where you can fit it in. Dried vegetables with your hummus or whatever it is. Having vegetables at breakfast if you're wanting your eggs, tomatoes, and having the spinach. Invest, I see this as an investment. I know we're all time poor, and it often takes, it needs time and energy to get the shopping done, getting everything ready and have the food preparation, but it is an investment in your health. And so I encourage you to do that. Just remember, have a bit of inspiration from our kitchen. It's very easy. The messages are simple, nutritious and delicious. And these things need not be expensive. You don't have to get seduced by whatever the latest fad is, which often doesn't have a lot of good nutritional and evidence base to it. Use some of these foods as a way of starting, and just start with one simple change. It might be breakfast, or it might be the cup of tea at the end of the day. You don't have to make huge changes all at once, but just choose one to start with. So hopefully that's inspired you to do that and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And of course, as you probably may have noticed, or I hope you already know, Sandra's amazing recipes are all available for free on the Gina Howell's website. And I have to say, I love that you take special occasions kinds of foods and don't say you can't have that. Like I loved your Christmas recipes, for example. Sandra actually adapts them so you can still have, I can't think of an example, let's say a trifle, but it'll be substituted, the cream will be substituted with, yogurt or something else. So there's fantastic recipes. I'm particularly thrilled, I just know now I have to have sardines, a handful of nuts and a juicy vagina muffin. And that is not a hard sell for me. I'll do that of an evening. Did anyone else notice, I know I joke about it, but I really did used to eat terribly badly, and it probably wasn't until I reckon I was about 35 that it actually started to bite. I don't know if I became more body aware or it actually started to have an effect. And before that, I could eat Tupperware. And I would just bounce back. But now I really do notice that if I'm not eating well, I don't feel well. So I do appreciate, as much as I joke, I do appreciate your recipes and I do use them. I encourage you all to as well. Now I would like to introduce Helen Vazakis from Vic Health. Helen is going to talk to us about their recently launched This Girl Can campaign, which aims to get us all sweating and moving more. Please welcome to the stage Helen Vazakis.
Hello everyone, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm part of the team at Vic Health who have created the This Girl Can campaign, and today I'm here to tell you some of the stories of the This Girl Can campaign. It is a story about Tina, who was riding her bike when she overheard a man yell out to her, "Fat chicks shouldn't wear lycra." It's a story about Dinasha, who as a girl growing up was always told that girls shouldn't and can't play cricket. Perhaps this is your story too. Our research suggests that many of the women in this room today will have experienced this feeling of being too embarrassed or too intimidated to get out there and exercise in public. That's what this campaign, This Girl Can Victoria, is all about. It's more than just a physical activity campaign. It's about empowering women to be comfortable in their bodies, to be active wherever, whenever and however they choose, without feeling like you're going to be judged while you're doing it.
We're really excited to be here today to be filming the local version of the hugely successful campaign from the UK called This Girl Can, making it a truly global movement.
It's a pretty amazing time to be a woman. Women of all shapes, sizes, demographics have a right to be out there and doing their thing and not feeling like they're going to be judged for it.
We know that there is gender inequality, broad-based gender inequality, and there is a physical activity gap across the population for women and girls. So this campaign addresses both of those factors. It's an incredibly important campaign to help challenge those stereotypes about how women should look when they are physically active or how they should behave.
I think that any campaign that celebrates the beauty and diversity of real women and our strength is such a joy to be a part of. Sometimes we just need to be in our body and feel our breath, exhaustion, exertion, feel that rush of endorphins. When a woman looks at you and expresses in that look what she's lived, who she is, what she's struggled with and how far she's come, that's really a beautiful gift, and it was a privilege to be able to witness that so many times on this shoot.
In Australia, we know that more than 3 in 5 women are not as active as they need to be. Not getting out there and getting the physical activity that they need affects your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. We hope that this campaign with a different approach motivates women, men, boys, girls, whoever you are. We hope that you see something in it and get inspired to get out and get active.
So that's our, thank you. That's our behind the scenes video of the creation of the television ad, and I get goosebumps every time I see that because the women in that behind the scenes video and also our television ad are extraordinary, but they are everyday women, which speaks to the fact that women everywhere are extraordinary. We put the call out for women last year to tell us about their experiences of getting active, and we were just inundated with responses. What we heard over and over and over again were stories of women who were too afraid of looking silly or of not being good enough or not being thin enough to get out there and try being active. We heard from women who were told that they should be at home with their kids and that they should lose weight before trying to start being active. Women who were told that cricket and AFL and surfing are a man's domain. We heard story after story of women who wanted to be active but were afraid of being judged. But we also heard stories from women who loved getting active no matter what other people say or think. We heard from women who support each other, women who push boundaries, women who try and sometimes fail and they laugh and they get up again and they keep trying. We heard a lot from women who say, I can do this.
Wearing lycra is really comfortable and it's really cool, and I don't care what anyone thinks. So I was riding along with a friend going through the city, and I hear this guy behind me say, "Oh my God, look at that. Fat chicks shouldn't wear lycra." It was so rude. It's none of his business what I wear. I don't care what he says. I'm going to wear lycra because it makes me feel good. It took me a while to realise, well, damn it, my body does amazing things now. I can ride 600 Ks, I can ride 100 Ks and get off my bike and go, woohoo, I did it.
frustrating because it's like, I want to do this. I want to play a sport. It doesn't matter if you're good. It doesn't matter if you're Oh, okay. Girls in my culture don't actually go out and play sport. Everyone goes to watch the cricket, but they don't want to play the cricket. That's because they've been raised in a society where the men are always like the ones that are active, and women always stay at home. I would not take that seriously. I'd do it. If you enjoy something, you do it. Everyone else is playing. All these boys, all my friends, they're playing. Why can't I do it? No one is going to tell me that I can't play anymore, because I can.
So This Girl Can celebrates real women giving it a go and getting active, running and tackling and puffing and sweating and laughing in all their glory, regardless of their background, ability, age or body shape.
I'm a very busy woman with a lot on my plate. I'm a very busy woman with a lot on my plate. I'm a very busy woman with a lot on my plate. I'm a very busy woman with a lot on my plate. It's the female takeover, we back and we stronger with numbers. Heard you before, wanted more, shop out for all your orders.
Clink your glasses, melt the ice like ice. Raise your glasses, melt the thighs like ice. Clink your glasses, up flashes, you won't ready for it to feel this nice. You won't ready for it to feel this nice. Woo! Clink your glasses, melt the ice like ice. Raise your glasses, melt the thighs like ice. Clink your glasses, out flashes, you won't ready for it to feel this nice. You won't ready for it to feel this nice.
Thank you. We know that feeling like you're going to be judged while being physically active stops women from getting out there and giving it a go. So, what can we do about it? Everyone here in this room has the power to build movement for social change. Create change not only for yourself, but for your sisters, your friends, your mothers and your daughters. Support and encourage every woman in your life to be active so she believes she can. This Girl Can shows that fit and healthy is not reserved for the young and the tiny and the trim. You can have curves and jiggles and wrinkles and still be strong and love being active. You can wear your comfy old tracky dacks and sweat until your face turns red, and that's okay. You can be a woman and be strong and be fast and be tough. It makes no difference if you're a newbie or an expert. All that matters is that you're out there giving it a go. We want This Girl Can Victoria to inspire women to get out there and get active. There are more of these stories online and even more being shared on social media. So I encourage you to join in the conversation. You can help us create change so that future generations of women can say that this girl can too. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. How great is that campaign? Thank you so much, Helen. It's wonderful, and I hope everyone will be sharing it. I love Tina and Dinesh. Oh, speaking of turning, like once, getting in slightly older, I love that you just start to let go of that stuff. Don't you? Like, who gives a shit? I am wearing whatever I want. That is awesome. I should say, actually, there's a couple of stalls out there of places, local places. There's fantastic things you can do outside and you don't need to go to a gym. But I know at Curves it's women only, and they certainly don't care if you're size 8 in lycra, or you can wear whatever you want. You can be whatever size you want. They celebrate all women. And there's also the Geelong Council's got various community centres and facilities where you can exercise as well. So encourage you, whatever it takes to get moving. Fantastic. Okay, we've got 2 more speakers before we have a break. I'm going to ask you, speaking of moving, because it feels a bit warm. I want you to stand up, just get your blood moving a little bit. Let's just stand up, shake the feet out, I don't know, wiggle the hands, have a little stretch, do whatever you want. So you've got some energy back in that body for our next 2 speakers. We are going to talk a lot about menopause, so if anyone needs to just, fan yourself, just go for it. There'll be no judgment. All right, take a seat, or in fact, if you would like to stand, you're also welcome to do that up the back of the room as well. Standing's also good for you. Okay, I would like to introduce Dr. Karen Ray, who's going to talk to us about essential health checks and what's happening these days in sexual health. Karen is a specialist women's health GP at the Jean Hales Clinic in East Melbourne and here in Geelong at the Epworth Women's Clinic. She has over 30 years' experience in general practice and promoting the importance of preventative medicine. She's passionate about supporting women to live well throughout their lives. One of the other things I'll say before I bring Karen on, and it's the same with Vic Health and Jean Hales, they use an evidence-based approach, and I cannot stress that enough. How many of us feel overwhelmed by the amount, you've got to eat coconut oil, don't eat coconut oil, you've got to try this type of thing, have you tried turmeric, They actually use an evidence-based approach. You can trust the information, don't Dr. Google it. You can trust the information that you get from Jean Hales. So, on that note, can I please welcome Dr. Karen Ray, who's going to talk to us about sexual health. Put your hands together.
Welcome everybody. I'm very nervous because I'm not used to speaking in front of so many people, but welcome tonight, and it's a real privilege to talk to the women of Geelong. I'm very proud you've come out tonight. That's great. So my topic is a sexual health update and health checks. So I've done quite a lot of research, and it's been quite interesting since I was given this topic about 2 months ago, that I've actually become a bit more proactive about talking to my patients about their sexual health life and opening up the conversation. And I will say that my number one message is please try and talk to your doctor or your nurse or your community health nurse or your family planning clinic and raise any sexual health concerns you might have, because often the doctor won't raise it with you. So why do we need to talk about sexual health? Well, mainly because it's not talked about very much at all. Often women won't even talk about it amongst themselves, or we won't even talk to our partners about it. Sex and sexuality play a very important role in the health of us women across our lifespans, and as our body changes, our sexual health changes as well. It's a really important part of our well-being. Okay, so what's important to know? It's really important to know what's normal and healthy, and I want to try and stress that tonight. It's important to know what factors affect our experience of sex and sexuality. We need to know how to express this part of our life in a way that's right for us, in a safe environment, and I just want to stress the domestic violence issue. Contraceptive options need to be looked at, and we need to know about safer sex practices. We need to know about sexually transmitted infections, and we need to know about our vulval health. We don't have time today, unfortunately, to go into lots of different parts of sexuality. We could talk for about 6 hours on that. But libido, pleasure, arousal and painful sex are all really important topics. And there's 2 fantastic books on sale tonight, both by Rosie King. One is Where Did My Libido Go? And the other one is The Elusive Orgasm, and that's available at the Jean Hales stand. So the V-bits are not talked about. I don't know many families where they talk about vulvas and vaginas, but it's really important to talk about those 2 V-bits. And when we do an examination at Jean Hales, we always have a mirror available, and we make women have a look, whether we want them to look because it's normal or we want them to look because it's abnormal, which is even more important. And like the rest of our bodies, these bits do change over time. They change with pregnancy, puberty, they change with menopause. They're always changing. The vulva is the general name for the external part of the female genitalia, and of course we all know what the vagina is. And I just want to stress that irritation isn't normal, and that if you have any pain, itch, burning, ulcers, lumps, bumps, sores, rashes, discharge, you should always check it with your trusted health professional, and never feel too embarrassed to ask a question about your V-bits. All women do have a vaginal discharge. That changes over time as well. And the vagina has its own microbiome, and I think a yogurt and the cultured milk products are fantastic for our vaginas. there's over 40 different lactobacilli that live in the vagina, and it's a very important part of our bodies. It gets unbalanced very easily from hormones, from infections, too many antibiotics. And in my practice, I try and avoid prescribing antibiotics, and I think you should all avoid trying to have antibiotics for colds and flus. It changes with menopause, and it changes with too much hygiene. The vulva book is in your show bags. It's a book that I hand out quite regularly when I see my patients, and it's got some fantastic information about how to keep ourselves nice down there. So this is called the Great Wall of Vagina, but it's not actually vaginas, it's actually vulvas. I think this is a fantastic piece of art. It's done by Jamie McCartney in 2015. He's a British artist, and it's actually 400 different, if I can bring that up again. The actual total artwork is 10 lots of 40 panels of different vulvas. The women were aged 18 to 74. And his message is, don't change your parts, change your partner. Because he was actually, and I think that's really important, because having cosmetic surgery to your labia is really like female genital mutilation, unless there's quite a serious biological problem there. And he also wanted to stress that you're normal, whatever you look like down there. Another really good source for knowing what it should look like is the Labia Library. So I thank Jamie for that fantastic piece of artwork. I think that's great. So what are sexually transmitted infections? A sexually transmitted infection is anything that you can catch with sex. The commonest one is always chlamydia, and we've got our wheel here, which is the wheel of misfortune. 1 in 5 Australian women will get an STI at some time in their lives, and the highest rate is between 15 and 29 years of age. Chlamydia, gonorrhea and syphilis, STIs in general, are all increasing again. STIs have always been around. During the World Wars, there was a very high incidence of syphilis during the World Wars. There was an increase in STIs in the 60s, in the sexual revolution. And there was a decrease in STIs with the Grim Reaper campaign in the 1980s. And it's actually getting to the stage where we may have to look at a campaign again. So nights like this are really, really important. In Australia recently, there's actually been 2 cases of antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea, so it's actually becoming more difficult to treat. There's been an 80% increase in gonorrhea in Australian women since 2015, and 10 to 15% of those women won't have any symptoms, and gonorrhea is associated with an increased risk of HIV infection as well. Anyone can catch a sexually transmitted infection, and when I was asked to do this talk, the initial topic was talking about the STI in middle-aged women, although young women is still the group where we tend to see the most sexually transmitted infections. There's starting to be an increase in middle-aged women, mainly because they're becoming more sexually active from repartnering, online dating and Tinder and RSVP. And I've had some fantastic conversations with some of my single 40 and 50-year-old patients. One lady was telling me about, I haven't ever looked on RSVP, but she said that you can actually tag three people when you go onto RSVP, so you can theoretically be going out with 3 different people at the same time. Increased overseas travel opens up our risks to more exotic sexually transmitted infections, and most of the gonorrhea infections do come from overseas. Middle-aged women may not be comfortable with the use of condoms. Their older male partners may be reluctant to use a condom because they might have some erectile dysfunction. Our vulvas and vaginas are changing as we get older, and a thinner vagina, which tends to happen with menopause, makes it more fragile but also increases risk of infection. There's also this reluctance for women of all ages to discuss STIs and STI screening with their health professionals and also with their partners. So I'd really like people to think about opening up that conversation. Also, porn websites have led to increased risky sexual practices that may expose people at risk. So who should have a sexual health check? So you should have a sexual health check if you think you might have a sexually transmitted infection, or if your partner's had a sexually transmitted infection. And the sort of symptoms that women may complain of is a discharge, either vaginal or anal discharge, vaginal or vulval irritation, a rash, an ulcer, a bump or a lump. You have to think about urinary symptoms, because not all burning and frequency from urination is due to a urinary tract infection. Young women particularly should always be screened for chlamydia if they have those symptoms, and herpes can present as that as well. Chlamydia can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, so pelvic pain and uncomfortable sex, and even a reactive arthritis can occur because of a chlamydia infection. If you've had unprotected sex, particularly overseas, and you come back with a general rash or glandular fever-like symptoms, then we do need to start thinking about things like HIV and syphilis. Not all STIs have symptoms, so if you've so you can still have an STI check even if you don't have a symptom. If you've had unsafe sex, either vaginal, oral or anal, if the condom's fallen off, if your partner's had other partners, if you've had other partners, if you've shared needles or for drugs, or if you've had tattoos or piercings, particularly done in Asia, you should always have some blood tests done to make sure you haven't picked up hepatitis C or HIV. You can think about having a sexual health check if you're starting a new relationship, and get your partner to have a sexual health check as well. Health resources online are growing all the time, and there's some fantastic resources on the Melbourne Sexual Health Centre website. You can check your risk online. You put in your age, your sexual practices, and it comes up with a printed out sheet that you can take to your doctor or to your nurse, and it explains what your risk may be and what sort of tests you should have. I Spy STI is a sexual health symptom checker, and you can put whether you might have a discharge or a rash or burning and urinary frequency, and put that into your I Spy STI checker. If you have a sexually transmitted infection, it's really important that you notify your partner. You may want to do this anonymously, and there is a website called Let Them Know. It's really important that your partner is treated for their own health, but also because reinfection rates, the chance of them reinfecting you is very high. People get very anxious about what's going to happen at a sexual health check. So therefore it's very important that you see someone that you trust for your sexual health check. Your health professional will ask you some curly questions. They're not just prying into your sex life. They'll be asking you about who your partners have been, how many you've had in the last 12 months, what sort of sex you've had, what sort of protection you've had. And if they're not asking those questions, then you're not seeing the right person. If you don't have any symptoms, it's actually possible. You can do your own swabs or urine test, and you may be sent for a blood test. So your health professional may not even need to do an intimate examination. But if you have symptoms, it's really important that the health professional has a look, and if they don't have a look, go and see someone else. It's a great opportunity to ask questions, to have to talk about contraception, fertility, and maybe any other questions about your general health. So age is not a protection against sexually transmitted infections, but safe sex practices are, and it's fantastic that we've got condoms on the table here. You should use a condom if you're having vaginal or anal sex, and there's flavoured condoms for oral sex, and for women having sex with women, you can get flavoured dams as well. So it's really important to try and use safe sex practices every time you have sex. And you need to remember that STIs are treatable and they're very manageable, and the earlier that they're treated, the better. There's less consequences. The second part of my talk is on health checks, and anyone who knows me or has seen me as a patient knows that I'm a big believer in preventative health. And when I'm not working, I'll be in the pool or running or riding my bike and just generally enjoying life, usually with a hat and sunglasses on so no one knows who I am. But preventative health is all about having a healthy lifestyle, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, not smoking, and once again trying to limit alcohol. So we know that limiting alcohol is becoming more and more important for health prevention. It's really important to know your family history because this will help give your health professional a guide as to what screening tests you may need and when they should start. So things like heart disease and diabetes are important, but there's also other inherited diseases like celiac disease or hemochromatosis, and you may need to have some screening tests for those. There's some fantastic online cancer screening tools, and we've got Breast Screen here tonight, and they'll be able to tell you about some of the online breast cancer risk tools. There's also online tools for bowel cancer, and these can be found on the Cancer Victoria website, and the Cancer Australia website is excellent as well. Genetic testing is becoming more common, and there's familial cancer clinics that you can be referred to if it looks like you could be at increased risk because of your family or genetic history. I'm going to talk about cervical screening, breast awareness. Sonia's going to cover heart and bone health tonight. Immunisations, I'm just going to say try and keep up to date all across your lifespan, from baby through to the latest immunisation campaign is for the shingles vaccine for the 70 to 80 age group. And mental and emotional health is incredibly important. I'm not going to talk about that specifically tonight either, but I think it's important that your health professional does ask you every time you go and visit, how are things going? This is just a timeline for health checks across the ages, and most of them start from 50. Heart health check Sonia's going to talk about. As far as breast checks are concerned, it's very important to be breast aware, know how to self-check your breasts. Mammograms are recommended every 2 years from 50 to 74 years of age, and you can go annually between 40 and 49 and over 74 if you want to. Breast density is something that may be important in the future but isn't reported on yet through breast screen. You need to know your risk for breast cancer, obviously being female, but also our lifestyle, smoking, alcohol, being overweight. Not having children is probably put badly. It's more women that haven't had children or haven't had any pregnancies, and breastfeeding is protective against breast cancer as well. The bowel screening program is going to be rolled out by 2020. It's going to be a 2-year test for everybody between 50 and 74 years of age. You should report any change in bowel habit or any symptoms to your doctor. And once again, screening may start at an early age if you seem to have an increased family risk. Just a quick word on cervical screening. A lot of my patients don't understand about the new cervical screening program. It's started off in December. It's now a test every 5 years. You should attend when your pap smear is due. It's for all sexually active women starting from 25 years of age until the age of 74, and it's a test for HPV or wart virus. The HPV virus causes most cervical cancers, but is also responsible for other cancers, including of the back of the throat. There is also the opportunity for women that haven't had a pap smear for 4 years to do a self-swab. but the woman has to be over the age of 30 and not have attended for a pap smear for the last 4 years. For the under 25 age group, the recommendation is an annual chlamydia test, and obviously an annual check with the doctor to talk about safe sex practices and contraception. So my keys to good health are to try and make time for yourself, try and remain physically active through your whole lifespan, try and eat a good diet, avoid smoking, minimise your alcohol, and as Nellie said, it's really important to be connected. I heard a psychologist talking on the radio recently about the third room. The first room is our homes, the second room is our work, and the third room is wherever we want it to be. It's in rooms like this, it's in sporting clubs, it might be the library, it might be the park. So it's really, really important to avoid loneliness and to stay connected. So I'd like everyone to get into their third room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. You sort out the room, don't you? Fantastic. Everyone, when we need to practice saying vulva and vagina. Was that said in everyone's household when they were little? No. My dear Nana that you saw before, she used to call it a woohoo. And my mum would go very confusing when they're talking to each other. Now, where's Naomi? Hello, Naomi. I'm going to ask you a favour. Do you mind if I put you on after the break? Because I can tell that people are tired and they need to have a little drink, and you'll get more attention if I move you. So I'm going to make a decision on the fly that we're going to break now, but I do want you back very promptly because we're a little bit over time, all right? So back no later than 8:05. We'll see you. Go and have a drink. Come back for the prizes, and we've got a panel as well. Hello, everyone out in the foyer. Can you please make your way in, please? Please come into the seats so we can reconvene for the second half. Everyone in the foyer, come back in, please. Okay, everyone, let's start taking your seats, please. Okay, making your way back to your seats, everyone. Hey, while we're waiting for everyone to come back in, thank you, prompt people, can we put our hands together for all the caterers who have fed and watered us this evening? Thank you. And who's going to take some food home? Is the next question. I cannot bear food to be wasted. So make sure I'm quite serious. I'll be taking a few sandwiches home. Mate, you think I'm joking? I am fully going to put some in my handbag. I'm that woman at the wedding who just takes the flowers and leaves, you know what I mean? But seriously, waste of food, what do you think Nana Gladys would say about wasting food? That is not on. So take some food home with you on the way out. All the condoms are gone. Hello, Geelong. Do you know what? I didn't want to say it before, but I thought surely the issue for some of us in the room at least would be sex drive driving off. Not the other way, just me, too much. Excellent. I've got one, if anyone's desperate. Would you like it? It's all yours, babe. I'm not using it. I got some TV to watch. No? Actually, I celebrated 18 years with my partner the other day. Thanks, no one cares. You're well done. He's all right. All right, in you come. Look at you all doing the walk of shame. Oh no, you've come in proud with your champagne. Look at you. In you come. Hi, don't say sorry. No, do you know what? Sorry's the woman's disease. We've got to stop saying sorry. Just walk in, go, I'll come when I'm ready. Can I get you anything? A watch, maybe? Hi, what's your name? Well done, Katrina. Did you get a nice feed? Thank you. You like my apple C? Modelling, that's what that is. Katrina, did you have to do a poo? No? Someone did. Surely we can talk about poof, we can talk about vulvas and discharge, for the love of God. Let's shout out to the camera guy. How you going there, buddy? You all right? Taking a few notes? Yeah? Lachlan, you coping? Excellent. Oh, this is the best night of Lachlan's life. Look at him over there in the sound booth. He's recording every minute of it. All right, guess what we're going to do? Other than I would love to give these away. Oh, my Lord, who wouldn't want one of these in their house? It's prize time. So you got door prizes. I'm going to tell you what they are before I tell you how you win them. Ladies' Furla sunglasses valued at $305 from GMHBA. Whoop, whoop. Jagged activewear voucher worth $100 from GHMBA. A 3-month adult membership at Swim Sport and Leisure Centre worth $480 from COGG. Or is it COG? Do we say COG? Endota Spa voucher for $250 from Curves. Health and Happiness gift pack of Love Tea. Confetti tote and cosmetic bag from Jean Hales, which are the cutest little things I've ever seen. They're adorable. Confetti tote and tea towel from Jean Hales. And the vegetable recipe book from Jean Hales as well. So, does everyone know that one of the mottos of Jean Hales is talking about the elephant in the room? Yeah? The elephant in the room might be vulvas. Woohoo! It might be poo changing. It might be discharge. It might be sex. It might be mental health. It might be the things that we know we should talk about that sometimes we find hard to talk about. So guess what they've done? Bless them at Jean Hales. They've made these gorgeous little stress elephants, these pink elephants, and if you've got one taped to the underside of your chair, you win one of those prizes. So have a little look. You're looking for a pink elephant. If you got it, do your best like Delvine Delaney. Woo! Up you get. Oh, I thought it was the squeezy. It's not the squeezy. I've sold them down the wrong path. Fantastic. Okay, you stand up here. There you go. Just put your hand up. Feel free, if you're a show-off, to come up with me, because I love that. 1, 2, 3. How many have we got? Yeah, how many? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's one more. If you've got a vacant seat, like, fight for it. Fight, 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 fight. If you don't have it, I want that vegetable cookbook. Dibs on that? No? Well, these are our winners. Give them a round of applause. So, hang on, there's only 6 of you. Where's number 7? Because I saw a 7. There's someone up there. You take your little pink elephant. I've sold you down a bum steer or whatever the expression is. It's not the squeezy thing, but we'll get some of those. You take that to the Jean Hales desk and they will give you a prize. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. They're thinking, what'd she get me up here for? Absolutely nothing. Okay, so Naomi is now going to come up. Thank you for being so flexible, Naomi, pardon the pun. Naomi Nalda is a physiotherapist from the continents. Speaking of elephants in the room and all this laughter, how's everyone going? The Continence and Women's Health Service at Barwon Health, and she's going to talk to you about what is fact or myth when it comes to the pelvic floor. Please welcome Naomi Nalda. You want to use this?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about a topic I'm passionate about. I work as a team of physiotherapists at Barwon Health alongside some medical and some continence specialists, doctors and nurses. And I've got a few statements I'd like you to consider, but we're going to get standing up and moving around because we were actually going to be on before the break when you're all sort of sick of sitting. So stand up, please. Okay. So, myth or fact, the pelvic floor muscles are only relevant to someone who has just had a baby. So if you agree, can you please sit down? If you disagree, can you stay standing up? Okay, great. I'm not leaking urine. I don't need to think about my pelvic floor. So if you agree, can you please sit down? If you disagree, can you stay standing up? Wow, you guys are good. Finally, everyone should be doing pelvic floor strengthening exercises. So if you agree, can you please sit down? And if you disagree, can you stay standing up? This is a tricky one. Okay, well done everyone. Okay, have a seat. So anyone who stayed standing up for all of those, well done, because they were actually all myths. And we're going to go on and talk a bit more about why that's the case. So now for a brief anatomy lesson without the briefs. We've got a lady here cut in half, and you can see you're looking in from the side. She's facing the left, and you can see the pubic bone on the left-hand side, and then the tailbone, or the coccyx, on the right-hand side. The yellow part there is the bladder, and it's connected to the urethra, or the wee tube, so where the urine comes out. Then we've got the purple area, which is the uterus, connected to the vagina. And then the grey area at the back is the bowel, connected to the anus, where the wind and the poo comes out. Now, the red hammock-like structure across the base of the pelvis there is the group of muscles that we call the pelvic floor muscles. They have a number of important roles, and these include continence, so closing around those passages, the wee tube or urethra, and the back passage to stop you from weeing or pooing or passing wind when you don't want to. But they also need to relax nicely to let you wee properly and to let you poo properly. Now you can see all of the pelvic organs as well, sitting on top of the pelvic floor muscles. So these muscles have a role in supporting all of those and keeping them in position and stopping things from falling out. And you can see as well how the entrance of the vagina there passes through the pelvic floor muscles. So they need to relax effectively to allow you to have sex and to put tampons in. So, like other muscles in your body, sometimes these muscles don't do their job as you'd like them to. And when this happens, we get problems, yes, with leaking urine and not controlling wind or poo, but it can also mean that we can't wee properly and we can't poo properly. It might mean that our pelvic organs aren't supported as we'd like them to be, so we get that feeling of something coming down or falling out. And it might mean that we have problems with sex, pain with sex, inability to put tampons in, or pains with weeing and pooing as well. Now, as with any muscles in our body, we want these muscles to be strong. However, not everybody necessarily needs to be doing exercises to tighten these muscles. Some people might actually be needing to teach these muscles to relax or to stretch and lengthen more effectively. And that can be really difficult to work out. So we really suggest that if you have got any problems or you think you've got some problems with how your pelvic floor muscles are working, that you go and get assessed individually by somebody or by a specialist. The other thing we know from the research is that 1 in 3 women are actually doing their pelvic floor muscle exercises incorrectly, so it's even more important to go and get assessed individually. Okay, so there are some activities that we all do at various stages of life which may make us more likely to have problems with how our pelvic floor muscles work. High impact exercise, which might include things like gymnastics, running, jumping, dancing. Being pregnant and the extra stress through the muscles can contribute to them weakening, and that's not even related to how your baby's born. So just being pregnant can contribute to the weakening. A vaginal delivery is another risk factor for problems relating to how the muscles are doing their job, and you can kind of make sense of that when you think about the big stretch that those muscles go through. And then as we get a bit older, maybe gain some weight and go through menopause, it's another time in life where you may get some problems with how these muscles are doing their job. So the take-home messages are that problems relating to the pelvic floor muscles are common and they affect women and men of all ages. Conservative management options, such as pelvic floor physiotherapy, are effective for lots of people. And that we suggest that you talk to your GP as your first port of call if you've got concerns, as they can order relevant tests and send you in the right direction to make sure you see the most appropriate health professional. So pelvic floor problems, remember, they're no laughing matter. So if you piddle when you giggle, go and get some help.
Thank you, Naomi. That's fantastic. Naomi was very nervous. Didn't she do amazingly well? Yeah. I know, and especially making you change. You got all worked up to do it, and then I let everyone go for the break. I'm so sorry. Just by a show of hands, who's farted at yoga? Isn't that part of the joy? Surely. And as soon as Naomi mentioned the word pelvic floor, who started squeezing? Haven't done it for like 6 months, immediately. Workout. Out of control. The other thing I meant to say when Karen was talking as well, and same with Naomi's subject, I know for a fact, even though you're all open-minded and you're here at this wonderful event, you know that we've got to do all this stuff, I know that a lot of women have got internalised body shame, especially about vajayjays, which is why I love the wall of the vagina. And my personal motto, and you can take this away with you, mine can't be that much more special than yours. There's nothing you haven't seen, I'm guessing. You're not going to walk in and she's suddenly going to go, oh my God, I've never seen one like that. So if you need to get your vag out, just go for it, mate. That's all I'm saying. And that muffin that's coming my way, if you know what I'm saying. Now, last but not least, our wonderful, where is she? There you are. Yes, you haven't left, you haven't run off. Dr. Sonia Davison is an endocrinologist with extensive experience and special interest in women's health. She's in private practice at Jean Hall's Clinic in Clayton and also at Cabrini. There's not much about menopause that she doesn't know, and I'm seeing a few people waving some paper near their face, and I make no judgment, but I'm just saying you might want to listen, you know what I'm saying? So please welcome to the stage Dr. Sonia Davison.
Okay, who is asleep? No one. Excellent. Now I've done a sneaky thing. I've looked at the statistics, I've counted the numbers, and 72% of you are between 40 and 60. So what I'm talking about is of extreme relevance to you, so listen. But if you're younger than that, you better watch out and please listen to, and also mum, think about what mum might be going through. If you're older than that, the last bit of the talk has particular relevance to you. And the other thing is changes you can make now will make a big impact for things like heart and bone health. All right, you still with me? Good. So we're going to go on to the first slide, please. Thank you. Oh, now I'm clicking? Am I clicking or am I? No, good. So my job is fascinating. I'm a hormone specialist. I have 3 male patients, and the rest I have thousands of lovely lady patients. I might have even some of you, I hope so. I don't need any more, but I'm delighted to see you, of course. I have many. Hormone specialists know about hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers. They're made in one part of the body, they move somewhere else. It's fascinating, and they do a particular role. They might travel a very small distance, hypothalamus to the pituitary, or right round the bloodstream and make an action appear somewhere else. We all need hormones to live. We're dead without them. So that makes me sort of important in my own mind. Now, there are 3 female hormones, main sex hormones. I've said that word. We're going to the next slide. How about that? Estrogen acts all throughout the body. Estrogen is responsible for making us a girl. We grow girly bits because of estrogen. But guess what? Men have estrogen as well. Do you believe that or not? Yeah, oh good, that's good, we're in the right room. Progesterone is very necessary for implanting an egg and making a pregnancy happen, and will only, those levels will go up if you've ovulated. Now testosterone, my PhD was based on testosterone. So I studied 1,423 women from around Victoria and looked at what happened with testosterone with age. And I found that testosterone actually dropped with age. We do have testosterone, we need it. I think everyone in this room has got testosterone if they've made it here tonight, and Nellie has a very good dose of it, but which is excellent. We need testosterone to function, and certainly. But that's something that's very important for mood, memory, brain function, and sexual function as well. So some women can come unstuck when their testosterone is very low. And I can talk to anyone about that at any time, but I'm whizzing right along to the next part, which is women are very unique. So the next slide looks at hormonal changes throughout life. So in our sort of infancy and toddler years, there's not much happening hormonally. There's thyroid hormones and growth hormones and all that sort of stuff, but there's not much happening with the estrogen type of hormones. Remember puberty? Do that one all right? Shocking time of really big surges of hormones, terribly big changes. You don't know if you're Arthur or Martha, but you become one or the other mostly. It's a bit fluid these days. And then men stay in the reproductive phase. At 99, if all God willing or God not willing, they can still be a daddy, all right, in this day and age. But women have this very unique physiology or function whereby they have a reproductive phase. They can have pregnancy, childbirth, but after that, there's a change in hormones, typically from the 40s, which is called perimenopause. I'm going to go through that in a minute. And then a third to a half of our lives are in the postmenopausal phase. Very, very important time, very, very destructive time for some women. And if you're in this room in your 40s and you're struggling and nothing else in life is changing, then I think it's going to be about perimenopause. And I find that a very, very difficult time to manage for women. But I'm going to tell you all about it, and there's definitely help out there. So we'll look at the next slide now. Why does menopause occur? Do you know what? Whales and gorillas are the only other species that undergo menopause. Okay, so humans are sort of unique there. I think it's because the other animals don't live long enough, but it's a special thing. And it is programmed. We're meant to go menopause on average between 45 and 55, but there's a very tight range for Australian women. It's usually 51 to 52, unless there's surgery or an induced menopause or a premature menopause. Now, if you are 40 or below and have had menopause, or someone like me should see you, because that's a very, very different scenario. You have sort of been robbed of estrogen far before the time that you're meant to. It's not common, but those women are really at risk of heart disease and bone health problems, and those women really should be seen. So if there's someone in your family like that, get them to medical attention. So there's lots of other causes of menopause. It is natural. So people say, why are you medicalising menopause? You shouldn't, it's natural, etc. It is natural, but we're not meant to be looking after ageing parents, looking after children, doing all the things that, make us a Wonder Woman, and cope with really drastic hormonal changes that mean we can't just sit on the couch and eat cake or juicy vagina muffins. We've got to get out there and do stuff. And there are people depending on us, and I very much believe this, that women are the linchpin of their families. And this big night was a big night for you because you organised the dinner, Mr. in there, you've done that, you've programmed the TV, everything was out on the bench. You even put the glass out for them, didn't you? I know you did that because I did it too. Next slide is looking at perimenopause. This is when the ovaries start to run out of eggs. Very difficult time, and it can happen from about 40. Sometimes it can happen from 35, and symptoms start. Now, none of this slide is very good. There are 15 little balloons here, and we'll go one by one. Flushes and night sweats is typical. It's not just getting hot. Now, when we're talking about the couch and the cake, one of my ladies ruined a couch because she sweated so much. The Salvation Army would not take the couch away. They said, we'll have the cake and the vaginal muffin, but we're not having the couch. They didn't say the other about the cake. There are more symptoms. I'm going to keep going. Weight gain and shape change. You gain it around your tummy. That sucks. There are more and more. Skin and hair changes. Oh, my scalp hair, I'm thinning. I'm getting this stuff around the chin. I'm getting extra things in my ears. Sore breasts. So because perimenopause, there can be too much hormone and too little hormone, all in the sort of same few months. And you may not know if you're Arthur or Martha, these type of low estrogen and high estrogen symptoms can all happen. And it's a very difficult change. All right, joint aches and muscle pains. This is getting fun, isn't it? Bloating, just to add to it. Increased tiredness or insomnia, and that waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning and not being able to get back to sleep. That's a real menopausal or perimenopausal thing, And I think that can be disabling, because the one thing Sonias need is sleep. Otherwise, they're nightmares. Mood changes, that can be anxiety, crankiness, low mood, and all of the above. Decreased libido, and that you might not care. You might never ever need to do any of that sexy stuff again, vaginal muffins or not. But there might be someone at home, depending on you doing that, be him a boy or a girl or whatever, and they might get very upset, and that's where relationships can disintegrate, and that can be a disaster. Because if they're otherwise good girl or boy that you have at home and you want to keep them, it'd be nice to keep them, but this can drive people apart. Where headaches and migraines, just to add to the equation, memory and concentration, women just come and say, I'm in a fog, can't think of anything, doctor, I know your name, but I can't even remember it. Reduced capacity to cope with daily activities, irregular periods in perimenopause, vaginal dryness, and sensation of crawling under the skin. It's like ants. Don't get that one. Okay, so these are the other things that women might notice. Trying to have a baby, I'm 41, I'm infertile, it's not happening. This can be perimenopause. Blood pressure will start to change, so we need to get to the doctor and get it checked. Increased risk of diabetes as well. Risk of recurrence of depression that you might have had after pregnancy. Changes in cholesterol. So some women are as skinny as a stick, come to me at 45 or 50, my cholesterol's gone up. Oh, that's perimenopause or menopause. High family history usually. Irritability and mood changes, and life and social changes. So this is a very busy life change and a time of lots of stuff going on. You can get help. There is something out there, even if it's not hormone therapy. Don't put up with it. Get to your trusted women's health GP and get some advice, or at the very least look at our website, because we will have something, and if it's not there and you need help, contact our education people and they will find it by asking someone like me, funnily enough. Now, some women go to their doctor, I think this is happening to me, and please measure my hormones. And they're very disappointed when the doctor said, well, we don't really need to do that. We don't, because hormones will be all over the place in perimenopause. And after menopause, they'll hit the skids. So you don't need a hormonal test. You just need to give me a history. And do you know what? I'm a bit canny now, and Karen's probably the same. I'll look at the first few lines on the referral from the GP and I'll say, oh, I bet you this is perimenopause and we're going to nail this. And it is, usually. I don't always get it right. So hormone levels won't help diagnose or manage menopause. They won't help manage treatment at all, and they won't tell you when periods will end. But premature menopause, as I mentioned before, any cause of menopause before the age of 40 or a cessation or stoppage of periods, that really needs to be investigated. Even if you're sitting there in the seat thinking, God, my period stopped at 35 and I just let it go, please get to your doctor, have a bone density check, and just make sure nothing eventuated from that. So, perimenopause is, I think, a shocking time in life. It is normal, but 20% of women manage it really difficultly. That's severe symptoms. 20% just cruise through. Everyone else is in the middle with some things. You can have ovulation occurring, so contraception is still very important. So remember, if you're still sexually active with whoever's at home in whatever manner, you still need to look at contraception. The latest baby, I think, on record who conceived naturally was aged 57 years. All right, so don't worry about it. If your periods have stopped and it's 1 or 2 years, you're probably all right. All right, so don't worry about it. All right, we'll go back to the slides again because I've got some discomfort and people are fanning more. All right, and the other thing is, if symptoms are bothersome, that's when we treat. Don't sit there with just having night sweat after night sweat, ruining the bed, the couch and whatever. Get some help. You must sleep, you must function, you must be reasonably happy. You mustn't sit there and be a nightmare, all right? And if you think I am the nightmare, get to someone nice like Karen or someone else and stop being a nightmare. You're a long time dead, is what I think. Okay, so having 9 lives is cool, but if I have to go through menopause again, forget it. They're on the couch, hello? All right, so things that we can help, and these are lifestyle things. By the time they're sitting in my room, they've seen a GP, they've probably looked at our website and they're doing these things. But keeping cool, using a fan, a water spray, cool drinks, begging Nellie to put the air conditioning on. Good move, whoever did that. Reducing hot flushes, being active. I'm the big dog walker. So 30 minutes with that cute dog, got to go, got to do it. And that's my great, I'm doing this, I feel well, and I'm hoping it's reducing flushes. Stopping smoking. Smokers have an earlier menopause and more symptoms. How about that? Could stop that one. And you save money. I worked out the other day, the lady came, I said, how much do you smoke? We totted it all up. I said, that's your trip to Thailand. In 1 year, you've just smoked your trip to Thailand. She said, oh, God. Reducing weight. So the weight acts as an insulator and you'll feel hotter. So whatever you can do. And weight gain is very common around perimenopause and menopause. And other things, avoiding alcohol, avoiding spicy food, avoiding triggers, avoiding stress. Easy to say, very hard to do. We've got to try. But some women really need some treatment. Hormone therapy is very necessary, so HRT was what it used to be called. Some women can't take HRT or shouldn't, and then there are other medications. So if you're sitting there flushing and sweating, not sleeping, and you're a nightmare, there are options out there, and get some help. You can definitely get help. Natural therapies may be appropriate as well. So everything to do with menopause and perimenopause, I think, should be individual based. There is no one size fits all. I see what's the lady's risks, what are her symptoms, what are her problems, and then I try and tailor make it to that lady for her situation and with her risks in mind. The low dose pill might be an option still in your 40s. We usually stop it at around 50 because our arteries stiffen then, and the big doses in the pill can be a risk. But you can certainly have that. It's good for contraception, good for some symptom control, up to 50. Hormone therapy, menopausal hormone therapy or HRT is very effective for all of the symptoms of menopause. Some ladies, like I've got ladies in their 70s, I want to be on it, Sonia, I feel good, my skin's great, I feel like a girl, I'm happy, don't take me off it. Okay then, all right, we're good. But again, some women need other medications as well. Not everyone needs medications, but the antidepressant group of medications, for example, some produce sweats and some actually help sweats. For example, in breast cancer, I'll often be prescribing an antidepressant, not for depression, but actually to reduce flushes and sweats, and that can be very effective. But it can also help mood problems as well. So we're going to go on to the next one as well. So complementary therapies, there's lots of stuff out there. And when you do Dr. Google or whatever, you'll often come across all the crap at the top, excuse the expression, and then right down the bottom, all the good stuff. Go to somewhere like Jean Hale's website or Mayo Clinic or the Better Health Channel, really good sources of information, and see what they say first. But meditation might help some. And Nellie, I reckon we've got to get her, sit her down and do a little bit more maybe. I'm not a meditator. Sonia is just go fast or not go at all. Naturopathy, of course. Sandra is an expert in this area. You see she's very passionate. Find someone who's passionate, knows about it and does the right and safe thing. That's what I really can promote. Herbal remedies can help. Black cohosh, for example, is very useful. Massage, who doesn't want one of those? And phytoestrogens are estrogen-like substances within the diet, for example, in flaxseed and linseed, soy products, typical sort of Japanese, Asian diet, and we think that's what protects those ladies against hot flushes and sweats a bit. But you can do that easily in the diet. So, as Liz Taylor may or may not have said, my grandma told me the good news is after menopause the hair on your legs get really thin and you don't have to shave them anymore, which is great because it means you have more time to work on your new moustache. All right. Wasn't she a darling? Violet eyes. She had violet eyes. So this is the really important serious stuff. So if you thought you're on your seat between 40 and 60, you thought I was having some of that, I might need a bit of help. This is the stuff that so when I see you at perimenopause and menopause, I'm thinking this lady's here in my seat because she has a problem and I'm going to fix the problem. But I'm going to be really sneaky because I'm going to think about the rest of her life because she's going to live a third to half of her life, I hope, touch wood, in my good hands, after menopause. So I'm going to look at the things that really make an impact on health after that, which is bone health and heart health. So after menopause, there is a higher risk of heart disease. And we think that's linked in with estrogen because estrogen levels on average before menopause are about 400, after menopause are about 20. Any guesses for what a typical male estrogen level is? Any punters out there? Yeah, about 200. Someone say, girl, you're good, I'm going to have you next time. 150. A lot of testosterone, it's converted through to estrogen. So the typical postmenopausal lady not on treatment has much less estrogen than the dude sitting next to her on the bus, all right, or driving the bus, Jesus. All right, so we do worry about heart disease, we worry about blood pressure and changes in cholesterol as well, which can happen around this time. It's sort of genetically programmed, and you can do stuff about it. So heart disease or stroke is a killer of 32% of Australian women. You're all sitting there thinking, God, I'm going to die of breast cancer, but God, you're going to die of heart disease or stroke. And it's really modifiable. We can do something about that. I'm not discounting breast cancer. Of course, that's a terrible thing to get, but we're very good at treating it now. But it affects 4% of women in Australia, whereas this affects 32%. And we can treat this. I can take your blood pressure, do your cholesterol, do your sugar, and already I've reduced your risk if I'm treating it right. So things we can change. Up the top there, Sandra's talked about nutrition. Walking Sputnik, the personal trainer dog, for 30 minutes every day is reducing my risks. Not smoking. I've saved my trip to Thailand and I've saved my money and I've reduced my heart risk. Relaxation, so we have to get Nellie to do more. And weight. We want to be a good weight for our height. And that's a real challenge around menopause. And you have to really want it to achieve that. You have to really want it. It has to click here and you have to really make an effort. I know because I'm doing it. Things we can maybe change: stress, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure. I can definitely treat that easy. High cholesterol, walk over. And diabetes, easy. Things we can't change, unfortunately, family history, and some have a really strong family history of heart disease or stroke, and some other conditions as well. So it's really important to see your doctor, not just for pap smears and all that sort of stuff, but that's really important. Annual blood pressure check and cholesterol check. It's really easy. I do it. I sit them down while I'm talking to them. I just do the blood pressure. Test for diabetes. I'm doing that in most of my ladies at least once or twice a year. Discuss weight and how we can do that. Everyone can do something about their weight. It just has to click and fit in with their life because we're all busy and we're all tired and I think we're all stressed. And know your risks, all right? That's the important thing. And a doctor can go through that. And there are some nice things online for that as well. So estrogen and bones, what happens with bone health? It's a bit cruel. I'm going to do a funny thing with my hands. Bones grow and they fall away. They're always doing that. That's how we respond to a fracture. That's how we remodel bone, and that's how we grow. But when you get to 30, guess what? The bone growth wins, and after 30, men do this. They lose a bit, but women do this. They lose a lot around menopause. So it's a bit depressing, but again, you can do stuff about it. So after 30, and if you were anorexic or something happened in your youth to then, you've lost a real opportunity to get to peak bone mass, and that can be a real issue for some women, or if they've had a disease like celiac or whatever. Menopause, you can lose 3 to 4% of bone density per year, and osteoporosis is very brittle bone that can fracture with a minimal trauma. And one lady I had lifted a wardrobe. I know that's silly. Don't lift wardrobes. But she got a fracture and she was in bed in Canberra where I was working there for 6 weeks. Her only risk factor was menopause and she was a smoker. So I tried to not get her to smoke while she was in hospital for 6 weeks. So this is a little image of rat-eaten bone. You see the bone on the right there? That's your hip bone. And that is osteoporosis, where we've lost bone density. It's not as strong and dense as it was, and it is a risk for fracture with minimal trauma. I've had a lady slip on the bean in a bean in Safeway, shattered her whole hip. It can happen when we're not paying attention. I have fallen. I did it in Chadstone, and it was quite scary. And I thought, God, anyone can do this. I've just done this. I thought I was impervious. Just be aware of your surrounds and environment, and if you do have thin bones, be aware that risky activities like risky skiing or those sort of things, or horse riding for some women, can be a real risk. So talk to your doctor about it. And 1 in 2 women over 60 years will have thin bones. And we can all do something. Every single person in this room can do something about their bones. Now, I've done another numbers thing. 2/3 of these we can manage and we can do something about. The other third are a bit depressing. Caffeine intake, too much coffee can erode bone density. So if you're having 5 or 6 coffees a day, you might be very energetic, but it's not so good for your bones. Tea's not as bad. Too much alcohol, all right? So 2 standard drinks, 100 mils of wine, 5 nights per week is what's recommended for women. Low vitamin D. Get your doctor to do a vitamin D check. Very easy. I do it on everyone. If you come through my door, you're almost guaranteed. Let's do this. We don't get enough vitamin D. Living in Melbourne or Geelong or wherever, you might get a little bit more than us Melbourneites. It's very easy to do a check and a level. We don't want to get skin cancer. We don't want wrinkles. We don't want to have to pay for expensive Botox. So we do the Sun Smart stuff, but check a vitamin D. It's very important for your bones. Smoking, smokers will have lower bone density, lack of weight-bearing exercise. It doesn't take much. Me and Sputnik the dog, 30 minutes every day. You might not be able to do that. I get it. You might be up at 6 a.m. organising everyone and get home from work at 7. Do whatever you can. Every bit counts. Early menopause, we can treat that. Family history, we can't. Low calcium. Make sure there's enough calcium in your diet. There's some beautiful things on the Jean Hulls website. It's not all about dairy. Sandra could talk to you all day about this. She hasn't got all day, but have a look at our website. And it's probably been reviewed by Sandra. So, 2 to 3 serves of dairy per day or other calcium-containing foods. Almonds contain calcium, for example. You can do it through diet. Vitamin D, I think most people in Victoria need a supplement over the winter months, unless you're really out there a lot or unless you go to the US or Broome or whatever in our winter. Get your doctor to do a vitamin D check when you're next there. Physical activity, I've talked about. Stop smoking. If I could do anything, the smoking thing is a great thing to stop. Save money, and you're getting healthier. As soon as that last cigarette's gone, I know that's very easy to say, hard to do, but there is help out there. So, is perimenopause and menopause all bad? No, because if you get someone passionate who can help you through it, you'll do really well. And not only will you get through the bad bit of life, that can be rocky for some, but you'll also do better later in life. Never, ever too late to make a positive health change. So around menopause, it's an increased risk of a new creative career or a life change. Some people will be offloading children, although I think they stay at home till they're like 35 now, don't they? Jesus, I've got years to go. Nellie's got even more, and Sandra, don't think about it. Increased risk of a fabulous new relationship. So go and find the new dude or dudette. Don't get herpes from them. Make sure you do everything right. Come and see Karen if you're worried. It's a real risk. They meet them online. Happy, sexy times. Didn't do that for a while. Whoops. And then they're gone. So just be aware of it. It does happen. I will go back to the slide now. Thank you, Lockie. That was excellent. Empty nest syndrome. I've had some women crying on me because the kids finally did leave home. Hello. And the other thing about menopause, it's your time for you. As long as you're not a nightmare with the flushes and the sweats and the sleep disturbance and the mood and all that sort of other stuff. I'm going to tell you that the best part about being over 40, not that she is we did all our stupid stuff before the internet. All right, I think it's true. Thank you very much for having me to speak. It's been a delight. Thank you.
I'll sort that out. Thank you so much, Sonia. Hilarious. Featured at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival next year. My favourite quotes from Sonia, don't be a nightmare. And you thought you were going to die of breast cancer. No, you're going to have a heart attack. I will take that away with me, Sonia. Now, we are a little bit behind time, but at this stage of the night, that means we're ahead. You know what I mean? Like, we've done well. We're just going to have a very quick Q&A. I'm going to ask our speakers to come up. While they're doing that, I'm going to do something that I'd normally do at the end. Who works in healthcare? Right? Then you especially know this. For those of you who don't, the other ones can encourage you. If you don't do your evaluations, then things like this don't happen. And I mean that sincerely. So tomorrow you're going to get emailed a link from your registration. Jean Hulls will send you a link. And please, please, please do your evaluation, because that is how these things happen. Otherwise, we can't keep putting wonderful events like this on. Now, microphone that we're going to share. We're radically out of time, so I'm going to beg you to have very short answers, please. And rather than ask you a question, because I think we're only going to get one go each, I'm going to ask you to give you one takeaway.
Okay, so my take-home message is fill your plate with vegetables. Colours of the rainbow, red is the new black, so lots of different vegetables.
Capsicum, actually, I'm going to ignore my own thing then and ask you one other thing, because I think a lot of people want to know this. Supplements. Yes, no point.
Look, there is a role for supplements in some cases, but really they are medicines and you should be getting informed, well-informed information. Where are you getting your information from is what I would be asking for, and they don't replace a good diet.
So you can't just eat crap and take a multivitamin. No. I'm asking for a friend.
Not really.
I'm getting hammered on this cake thing, by the way. Look at you with your judgy eyes.
Well, there are times where you can sort of compensate a bit. A good example is calcium. If you're not getting adequate calcium, you supplement up to the amount.
Or your vitamin D.
Oh, yes. So the evidence is trying to get it in the diet, and keeping the calcium supplement to around 600 milligrams is the sort of safe dose.
So we're all going to go and get these recipes, aren't we?
Sardines.
Yes, we are. Excellent. So one takeaway, other than don't die of a heart
Don't
attack.
be a nightmare.
Yeah.
If you have bothersome symptoms of any sort, don't sit with them, get to your doctor and try and do the 30 minutes on your Sputnik walk with the dog. Every day if you can, and most days if you can't.
Who had all the symptoms as she was reading them out? My youngest daughter, this is how much I pluck my chin. I found her, she was 3 and she had a pair of tweezers going like this. I need to come and see you. All right, takeaway.
Pelvic floor problems are common, leaking, pain with sex, all of that, but doesn't mean you have to put up with it. So go and get some help for it.
Yes, excellent.
Well, I have to say check out your V-bits, and if there's something wrong with your V-bits, see a health professional, and don't be embarrassed to ask anything with your health professional.
And let me ask, because, we're at that pointy end of the night. A sexual health nurse said to me, she can tell someone's age when she does an examination, not based on how the vulva looks, but on whether or not they have hair on their vagina. She's like, it's a Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomer kind of stuff. And when you had the vag wall, all I was thinking of was, where's the hair?
There was no hair because hair is very hard to cast, but he's going to do another wall with hair once he's got.
And you want to
works out how to do
see
it.
the diversity.
But I think reforestation will come back in.
Yeah. Just the full 70s muff is going to make a comeback. Yeah, the 70s bush. And everyone who's had electrolysis, you are going to weep when that bush comes back. And you must get people who come in who are scared that they don't want to flash the badge. What do you say to them?
I think women have often had bad experiences. Speculums used to be metal and cold. They're now a lot nicer, made in different shapes and sizes. So we try and make people feel very comfortable. And if they don't want to be examined that day, we don't examine them.
Yeah, so no one gets forced to do anything.
No one will get forced to do anything.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
we'll send them to the physio if we can't go anywhere near there.
Hello. Why couldn't you go anywhere near there?
Because of pelvic floor relaxation. They need to...
Oh, because you can't chill.
Stretches and relaxers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Meditation. All right, I've taken... Do you know what? In all seriousness, it's not funny, but I started doing meditation because I got that app and it starts you on 3 minutes a day. I can do 3 minutes, an hour. Who's got an hour? Who wants to lay there for an hour? Not Nellie. All right, so our takeaways, because I promised you that I would get you out of here on time. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know it's a really big deal, especially for people who are organising other people, as we've heard. The takeaways that I get from this, it's actually not rocket science. It's really complicated in one sense, but it's not rocket science. We know we do have to eat well. We do have to exercise. That's the exact reason I got dogs, because it makes me get out of the house and it makes me be social at the dog park. Get your tests. Whatever they are, the tests are available. How lucky are we, and we forget this, how lucky are we to live in a country where we can get all of these tests and have this preventative health, and some of us just go, oh, I can't be bothered. Oh, fantastic. So you've got a pen in your pack and you pull out a list of all the tests that are available and regular tests that you should have. Another thing I think I take away is the idea of staying connected. Women are generally better at that, but I think some of us have got to make an effort if it's not our natural state. You're all here tonight and we appreciate that. And the biggest thing, and one of the things that I've taken away from my time as an ambassador with Jean Hales, is that reminder, talk about the elephant in the room. Bodies are not shameful, health is not shameful. It's better to face this stuff than to have to deal with the consequences later. So please join me in thanking our fabulous panel. I'm sorry we didn't get to do more questions. Thanks to Lockie and his team on sound. Glad you've been taking notes, mate. Thanks to all of you who have come. And a very, 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 very big special thanks to everyone at Jean Hales and all the other supporters for putting on tonight. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later.